As it currently stands, though, for consumers, is that competitive configuration that we have now, so-called, actually working at all? Because, some businesses are talking about closing down or already have, particularly industrial operations, because of the cost of energy.
Yeah, yes, we do have competition. We have four major gentailers, for example, and they do actually have to compete. They're not monopolies. And it's one of those things that puzzles me as a competition economist. Often commentators talk about the sector being a monopoly. It's not. We got four firms competing with each other. If you look at other countries overseas, having four major competing chains in a sector like electricity is actually pretty good. It's not like you expect to have 100 competing electricity generators in any particular market. So having four is actually pretty good. And they do compete, not necessarily cutthroat competition, not necessarily as much as we might like, but then we do have to live within the limitations of technology and demand. Basically, power stations are expensive. We're a country that's expensive to service, and we don't have that many consumers anyways. So how many competing chains of gentailers do we actually expect to have? Now, the problems with the firms that are going broke are numerous, of course, and electricity is definitely a part of an issue for them. If you think about the pulp and paper mills, for example, they had to shut down. High electricity prices is going to ruin their margin, but they are effectively in a very competitive international marketplace anyways. So not having scale economies or not having niche products that can compete well with larger competitors overseas is going to be just as much a problem for them remaining viable as high power prices. And there's no guarantee that any electricity sector is going to deliver power prices that keeps all industries in business. I mean, who says it should? I mean, it costs money to make power, right? And sometimes you get industries popping up precisely because they have a cost advantage in power supply. If you think about it, that's the sort of outfits that might have their own power station and they can produce electricity at cost rather than having to buy it at a market price. And then, if they vertically integrate themselves into electricity generation, then they're viable. They can actually keep producing when their rivals are having to buy power at wholesale electricity prices that have a profit margin built into them. And then they can outcompete those other rivals because they've got their own power supply.